Welcome back. Now, what started out as a video about Newsflash, which is a fantastic RSS reader for the GNOME desktop, turned into a why you should use RSS. Because at the end of the day, RSS is a technology that's been around for such a long time, but it is so vastly underrated for most people. So this video is really about why you should ditch the social media algorithms and ways that media is served up to you in favor of a feed-based system. Now, in this video, I'm going to break it down into why you should use RSS and how you can make it work for you. Then I'll give you some recommendations as for RSS clients, or I guess readers, that you can use on Windows, Mac, and Linux, obviously. And then at the end of the video, I'll give some recommendations for iOS and Android. RSS as a technology has been around for some time. It actually became quite popular under Google's oversight when they launched Google Reader. It was a great way to curate what you want to read from around the internet and have it served up in one place. Think of it almost like email, but for the various media that you might want to consume. After Google killed it, it became apparent that the world forgot about how cool RSS as a technology is. There are a few different components to consider when you're getting an RSS feed situation going. First of all, you're going to need some way to be able to curate the kinds of content that you want. You need a place that you can dump all of the feeds that you wish to follow. Now, there's two options when you go with this. You can either go with an app-first approach, which is what I'm going to show with Newsflash here in just a moment. Alternatively, you can go with a service-based approach where you add a bunch of feeds to a particular service, and those feeds will be available wherever you log in with that account. Now, the third and preferable option would probably be to self-host your own RSS news feeds. I'm not going to get into that here today, but there are some great videos on the webs on how to do that. I just want to give you some quick recommendations about how to get going with this technology, and you can take it and morph it to your own needs. When it comes to Newsflash as a Linux client for RSS, this has been my go-to for some time now. It looks great, it's very functional, and the main things that I like about it is the fact that you can import and export using the standardized OPML standard. And for me personally, I've been using Feedly as my RSS service for some time. But on desktop, I don't like the way that Feedly looks. I don't like it the way that it looks on the website. And so I use Newsflash as a way to bring in the feeds that I've aggregated through Feedly. Now, the way that I do that is by importing an OPML file. So you can see here that this is my Feedly homepage. And if I wish to export all of the feeds that I have here and be able to bring them into Newsflash, I have to go to my homepage, go to feeds, and see this little cog? I have to hit that one. I can then export them by selecting all of them and then clicking the export button. Once I download that file, I can then open that up in Newsflash and it imports all the feeds that I'm following. Now, if you're starting from scratch and you're looking to use the app as the aggregate point for all of the feeds that you want to follow, and you might not already have a list of feeds to import using an OPML file, then what you want to do is you want to find the website, whichever it is that you want to follow, and then basically just look for the RSS link for that website. So for example, just by Googling CNET RSS, you get a list of the various RSS feeds that CNET provide. And then once you've got that particular RSS URL, you then bring that into Newsflash or whatever your local feed reader is, and you can then dump that into the website or feed URL, and it will then ask you what category you want to include it in, and away you go. Now, by the same token, if you want to add a YouTube feed, you can do the same thing. By pasting the link of a YouTube channel that you wish to follow, you can then add that YouTube channel to a particular folder or tag so that you can keep up with that content creator as they publish their content. Now, the other feature that I really like about Newsflash is the fact that it has built-in article scanning or scraping, however you want to call this. So basically what happens is instead of you having to sit through a bunch of ads and other content that is on a lot of websites, for example, Which Car Classic, automotive website here in Australia, if I wish to read the article without having to deal with all of the rubbish, I click the little full content button, and Newsflash will attempt to bring in the important text and images from the article that I can consume here in the reader. Now, the other powerful thing about RSS feeds is the organization capabilities. Unlike social media, which is very algorithmically driven, and it can be maddening trying to find that one post that you found useful 3 months ago, RSS feeds allow you to tag and categorize content based on folders. So I can create tags and search tags up here in Newsflash, and I can create specific folders that I want my feeds to go into. So if I want to catch up on a certain hobby, I can come in and scan all of the different articles within that folder. Now you can take this up a notch by adding feeds from YouTube subscriptions and podcasts as well. Now I haven't quite taken it to that level yet, but you can. So if you want to have all of your content in one place on your desktop, then Newsflash is a great way to go. Now, if you're looking for recommendations on the Windows side of things, my recommendation would probably be with Fluent Reader. This one has been around for some time. It is based on Electron, which is not everyone's favorite cup of tea, but it has a lot of the same design features and approach that Newsflash and others have. If you're on macOS or iOS, my recommendation would go to NetNewsWire. This has been around again for a long time. It's free and open source and is available on both macOS and iOS. Again, the layout and approach here, very, very similar. Finally, if you're looking for a really well integrated solution that comes built into a web browser, then definitely check out Vivaldi. I know I've talked about it in other videos, but this browser has a lot of features built into it, including a really well fleshed out RSS reader. And they even step you through how to go and subscribe to different YouTube channels within the RSS reader as well. So that takes care of the RSS client itself. But the second part of the puzzle is, do you want to have all of your news feeds, articles, podcasts, YouTube videos synchronized across a bunch of different platforms? And if you do, that's where you're going to need an RSS service. Or kind of like a backend to collect all this stuff. So once again, if you're just looking to get your feet wet, I think Feedly is still a decent option. You can use, I think, up to about 50 different news feeds for free before they will ask you for money. Clearly, Feedly is not free or open source, and most of the solutions that are out there are paid for the very fact that you're taking up server space on someone's server. So that then raises the question, is it possible to self-host? And that's where I'd recommend jumping into something like Nextcloud. If you already have a Nextcloud instance, then spinning up the Nextcloud News, which is simply just a module that you can enable that integrates RSS feed aggregator into your Nextcloud instance, is probably going to be the way to go. If you're looking to expand your capabilities with RSS and you're not looking to self-host necessarily, then NewsBlur can be a great middleman between the simplicity of Feedly and some of the more powerful features that come from self-hosting. You can actually spin up your own NewsBlur instance, but it also has a lot of great features that are available on their hosted service that you can then synchronize out to other apps and platforms. You can follow here the pricing structure. You can follow up to 64 feeds with slight delays in terms of how often those will refresh. And the interface, at least on the web, is a little antiquated in my opinion, but with clients for both iOS and Android, you'll never be left out in the cold, and you can always export your feeds and use an external feed reader like Newsflash to read them on your platform of choice. At the end of the day, RSS is a fantastic technology to deliver the content that you want to see when you want to see it without any of the annoyances of most of the modern web. As a side note, a free and open source feed reader on Android would probably be Feeder. You can find it both on the Google Play Store and on F-Droid. It has a very sensible user interface and it is regularly updated, with the last release coming out only 2 weeks ago from the time of the recording of this video. Let me know what your setup consists of down below, and I will see you all in the next video.